This whole notion, which kind of really bugs me about, Cristiano was brought in to win the Champions League. That was the project the first 2 years, right? They spent enormous amounts of money. People thought he maybe was the final piece in the puzzle. They spent a ton of money on players around him, on veteran players, on high-priced free agents. And then the numbers didn't add up. After 2 years, and this is why they went in a different direction under Pirlo this summer, they said, all right, we're going to start over. We can't sell Ronaldo. We can't move him on. He's going to be part of the project, but we're going to have a year of transition because we need to. Because there's no team in Europe that's successful that doesn't go out there and play attacking football, dominating the pitch. And that is simply something that Juventus were not doing. Even when they were winning leagues at home, they weren't doing that. They were much more conservative in the way they played. And they didn't want to play that way anymore. And that's why they went down the Pirlo route. And Ronaldo, by the way, is having his best season at Juve this year under Pirlo. Obviously, he had an absolute stinker at Porto, but we can go on and on about the wall, and yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. But guys, Juventus played awful both halves in the first leg, and they were awful in the first half against Porto in the second leg. And that's why they went out more so than the fact that the wall opened up.
Yeah, but that's my point, Gab. That is my point about Ronaldo. It's you mentioned the finances, which has got nothing to do with him, by the way. They brought him in to be a superstar and to pay him absolute fortunes. But we all know the game on this panel. You can't do it on your own. You can't have a 36-year-old Ronaldo on his own taking Juve to Champions League finals and domestic finals and winning every single game and scoring 40 goals a season. When you're 36 like Ronaldo and what Messi is and what Zlatan's doing, you need a team around you. And you're right, Gab. He has had a really good season.
And that's what they've tried to do this season, Don.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But to lay it all on Ronaldo, I think it seems harsh to me.
No. But you're missing the point. The point is, it's like, let me make an analogy, Don. When you were younger and more handsome, maybe you could pull off the fancy sports car and ride around town. At some point, you can't afford the fancy sports car anymore. And yeah, you still have it. It's not the sports car's fault, but you're operating in a different world. And that's the situation Juve find themselves in.
And Gab, your latest piece for ESPN.com, you still say, though, that the Champions League nightmare doesn't change the fact that the club is actually on the right track. So can you explain that to us?
Well, it's because for years of playing a brand of football, which nobody in Europe played except for Atletico or had any success with, they said, we need to go and dominate the opposition. We have to dominate the pitch. This, by the way, isn't a new thing. Max Allegri said it in his last year. That's why he tried the five-star attack and all this nonsense. But he couldn't get it done. He couldn't make it work, which is why he opted to leave. They thought Sarri could do it. Sarri, after a few months, he didn't have the courage to do it, and so he went back and he played conservative football. So they went in and they tried to do it with Pirlo this year. They've made much more sweeping changes in their recruitment, in their scouting, in the way they're set up, because they want to do this. Now, Pirlo may be too experienced. It might not work. He might not be the right man. But they're committed to this direction. And, I've said this a million times, but I did come up with an analogy which maybe works. They're committed to owning an electric car, okay? Pirlo will find out if he's a Tesla or if he's a golf cart. If he's a golf cart, they'll get rid of him, but they're going to replace him with another electric car. They're not going back to what it was before, where it was everybody back and just wait for something to happen at the other end, and then let's all defend, because they don't think that football works anymore, and I think they're right.
But it's not just the coach, is it, Gab? They need some more changes if there is to be this rebuild. What else? What other pieces do they need to bring in?
Well, the obvious piece is in midfield, because if you're going to demand a lot of the ball and try to play fast, you need somebody who can actually pass the ball well in the middle of the park. And that's not Arthur. It's not Bentancur. They had a guy like Pjanic, although he'd gone off the boil. They have to bring somebody in that position. They've looked at youngsters. They've got Rovella coming in from Genoa. They've got Fagioli in-house, who we'll probably see more of. They may need to buy somebody. But look, top to bottom, this team, they're not in such terrible shape. You still have Szczesny for a while. Demiral and De Ligt is a young, very good defensive partnership, longer term. You've got two very promising wingers in Kulusevski and Chiesa, already showed his worth. You still have Dybala knocking about. Maybe he'll come good, maybe he won't. So, they are trying to, and you've got Weston McKennie, who, I think is a real value added to this team. So, they are building towards something, but it's going to take time. And COVID hasn't helped, and the losses, and the overspending before. None of this stuff has helped, and they can't just dump these players. It's like, oh, let's sell Ramsey. Who's going to buy Ramsey and his wages? It's going to be like the Arsenal situation with Ozil and Papastatopoulos, and Mustafi, where you couldn't get rid of these guys because you signed them to contracts that were too big. So people have to be patient because it will take time.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.